Alright, welcome back. This is XGR, and this is game 2 of match 1 in stage 3 of my Friendly Sealed 6 series over on peermtgo.com. Let's get started. So this is a relatively okay opener, minus the revoke privileges I just drew. Sorry for not catching that in time. 3 lands is a pretty strong starting point. Nissa Vital Force is the strongest card in my pool, and so having that in the opener is good. And the Glint Sleeve Artisan is a good starting card as well, so I think it's definitely a decent keeper. And again, I'll just go ahead and skip past the first couple of turns where very little occurs. So again, my opponent leads off with the Aether Poisoner, but here we have the Glint Sleeve Artisan I could have played, or the High Spire Artisan. Both allow me to put a servo, which kind of just cramps the style of the Aether Poisoner. And here my opponent played a card I didn't see the first game, which is the Longfin Sky Whale, and that's definitely a problematic card, especially if I want to get down Nissa next turn. If I'm lucky enough to draw another land, so it's a pretty clear choice of putting the revoke privileges on it right here. Again, I could have preyed upon to kill the poisoner, but I didn't want to lose my servo essentially to do that. And again, the poisoner itself is not that threatening at this point. And then luckily my opponent doesn't actually play anything, but I don't draw anything particularly useful here either. I do get to attack with the servo because I'm going to play my own Glint Sleeve Artisan here, which gives me another servo to prevent the attack back from the Aether Poisoner. And there my opponent just bounced their Longfin Whale, which let them draw a card and gets rid of my Revoke privileges. And there they used a Furious Reprisal to essentially just singly answer the Glint Sleeve Artisan. And so they do actually get to get in and get that servo out of it as well. And then they played the Implement of Combustion. Like I said, they played that last time, and I thought it was a pretty strange inclusion. I hit 5 mana, and there's no longer... They have to wait at least one turn to put down the Longfin Sky Whale, and having drawn Nature's Way, I will be able to kill the Sky Whale without much problem. So at this point I feel safe playing Nissa. She might lose a loyalty or two, and definitely lose a loyalty to Implement of Combustion, but I'm not really concerned about that at this point. And you can see my opponent does pop the implement and hits Nissa. And we see the Sky Whale we expected, and my opponent's doing what they did last game, which is just essentially dirtling around. However, I do have quite a few options here, as I just have a number of ways I can basically kill my opponent. Here I just decided to get more on the board and just kill the whale with a prey upon, and essentially put myself in a position to really start pressuring my opponent very quickly. And here you can see they used Battle at the Bridge, although they didn't completely tap out for it to kill the Mastodon. And here I use Monstrous Onslaught to attempt to get rid of those two, but my opponent does have a counterspell they were holding up for it, which explains why they didn't tap out for the Battle at the Bridge. In this situation, I'm not actually that upset about this, as I'm not losing that much. I'm also okay trading away the land there, as I just have a lot of power going on with Nissa here. And here my opponent played the Tezzerous Touch, which again is the most threatening card they've shown us so far. And I decided to just chump block it. I do want to keep Nissa up high, as I don't have a super large amount of things going on at this point, and Nissa is definitely the strongest thing I have. Luckily I do draw a land to replace that, which does let me get in here and kill that. I know my opponent will get to replay the Prophetic Prism and draw a card, but I definitely can't leave that 5/5 on there, as I will eventually... Nissa would die, or I'd have to continue blocking. My opponent's choice here to ice over is an interesting one, just because it's not tapped, so I can use this to block if I want. And they have plenty of mana, and so it doesn't make sense that they're just waiting to use the mana anyway. Little they know I had the Dawnfeather Eagle, which further ruins the day for them on that one. So of course I play the Eagle, crew up the Freighter, and let it get Vigilance and the +1/+1, and I attack in for a very large chunk of damage at this point. And at this point my opponent has to concede, because the next turn they're facing down a very similar amount of damage. Thanks for watching, we'll see you in match 2.